Welcome to the Workbench After Hours podcast. My name is Keith, and I'm your host. This is where we talk about the firearms community, shop talk, and everyday life experiences. Welcome back to another episode of the Workbench After Hours podcast. Chris is next to me, and Jacob is back as a guest this week, so welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome, Chris. Tell us what we're drinking.
We're drinking Redemption Rye. So, I got this for Christmas. It'll be interesting. It's 95% rye and 5% barley in new, freshly oaked barrels, and it is 92 proof. So, yeah, it's light in color.
There you go.
So,
Pour some whiskey, and then
neat rye.
we'll say what we're supposed to get on the nose, palate, and finish.
I bet it's going to be a lot of spice.
We tried the Redemption bourbon, right?
Yeah.
That was pretty good. All right, so the nose, you're supposed to get big and spicy, toasted oak.
Vegetal notes and allspice and anise. I don't know what the heck anise is, though.
It smells sweeter than I would imagine.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as spicy as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Definitely getting toasted oak, getting spices.
Yeah, I smell some oak, yeah.
Maybe that sweetness is you're supposed to get a little bit of mint.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's almost got like a fruity
I just
smell
feel
to it.
like your typical like Makers or like Jack Daniels smells spicier than this.
Yeah.
But we don't like JD, remember?
We don't.
That's all we drink.
Okay, so our palate, Chris, what are we looking at?
Beautiful rye spices with light floral and citrus notes, along with dark spices and black pepper.
Man, how did you come up with these descriptions? Like,
I don't know.
you should be a professional whiskey
I know,
reviewer.
right?
He's good.
Now, if I can actually get these, it'd be great.
It's actually it's incredibly smooth.
Yeah, you were nervous about trying this neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I expected a lot more spice. It's really smooth. I almost get like a honey taste or something on the back end.
Yeah, the finish is
Yeah, it's totally different.
supposed to get a slight mint finish.
I could kind of see that. Yeah.
It's supposed to be great for mixing a cocktail.
It's really, I don't know. Like, I thought it was going to be a lot more spice just because it was rye.
What did
Yeah,
you say the
95%
proof on this was?
92, so
Wow.
46%. Yeah, 46%.
It doesn't have that afterburn that most,
Yeah, rye's
that
would
higher
have.
proof and a rye. Yeah.
You do get like, I don't know, you do kind of get like a floral mixture.
Yeah.
When you let it just sit there on the palate.
You kind of smell that too. It smells
Yeah.
earthy a little bit.
Yeah,
It's good.
yeah. Definitely different.
It's good.
I was
It's good
expecting
and neat.
it to be-
I'm excited to try it with ice.
I was expecting a lot more heat.
Yeah.
Pre-prohibition rye.
I do. Maybe it's just because of the description, but I feel like I do get a hint of the mint.
Mm-hmm. It's like on the front half.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's a little bit different. So
That's
if
good.
you like Redemption and you like rye, try it.
Yeah. Yeah, even if you don't like drinking it neat or on the rocks, it's supposed to be good. Say if you're making an old-fashioned.
I bet it'd be great with old fashioned.
Oh yeah. With some bitters.
Oh yeah, because it's
We make that as loud as possible.
and it's not too bad. I think when I went to the liquor store and saw it, it's like $27.
Yeah,
It's
that's
really not that bad.
I wouldn't have guessed it was double that price
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
I would have guessed this was a $60 bottle of whiskey or more.
So it's not bad. I'm shocked that it doesn't have that spicy
Yeah.
like most of the ryes would.
Yeah. And you told me the price range, I would have thought totally
Yeah.
different. Even
It's real smooth and
yeah.
it's enjoyable.
obviously gets smoother with that ice on there.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
All right, so
I'm impressed. I would buy a bottle of that for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't like lean towards rye.
Neither did I. I'm here slowly getting on that kick here lately, but
all right, so the gun of the week
I brought
is going to be done by Jacob.
budget AR pistol build. It's going to relate to what we talk about this week.
Oh my God, that's scary.
what is that thing
So-
on the back end?
This, I bought an Anderson lower that I saw on sale probably 5-6 years ago for $25 through Cabela's, which I could pick up locally with no transfer fee. So it was $25 with tax just for the lower. And then I was browsing Palmetto State Armory one day, looking at different pistol builds. I was really looking at braces because I was interested in building a pistol and figured I'd start with the SBA 3, go from there. And then I saw this build and searched it, and they had it in several different colors. And when I searched it again, it came up. Most of them were running about $370, $380. And the exact same one came up twice. So this gun for $300, it was a complete rifle kit. So it was everything minus the mag that you see here, but the mag pull furniture on it, the brace and everything, and then all the lower parts and complete upper. And they had one double listed for like $250, $260. And it was just mislabeled from an old ad that was still up when you searched. And I was like, well, I can't not buy that because I'm looking at spending $160 on just the SBA 3. And it's got mag pull furniture on it, that it was nicer than a lot of the stuff I was looking at in its price range. So I couldn't resist. I had to put the M-Bus on it, which I think I got on sale off of Palmetto at the same time for like $30-$40. And then I put a mag pull sling on it to match, the coloring and everything. That was like another $30 or so. But I got less than $500 in the entire rifle. So couldn't resist. And now we have to discuss what to do with this thing.
Yes. So we thought this would be a fitting gun to bring on because it's kind of our topic of this week and a video that I just posted earlier of a new ruling that the ATF came out with. Even though that they can't make law, they're trying to make a law.
Or change. Yeah. Overnight. It's just crazy.
So in this configuration right now that he has it set up, he's got the pistol brace on it. And what's the barrel length?
It's an 11.5-inch barrel.
So it's shorter than 16 inches. So if you were to have a regular stock on there, that would be a short barrel rifle.
Correct.
Up until recently, if you had the pistol brace on there and didn't primarily shoulder with that pistol brace, that is a pistol.
Yeah.
And
legally, it's a pistol.
Millions of people have these guns set up like this, varying lengths of the barrel and stuff like that. Maybe some different manufacturers of the pistol brace, but
this comes apart. The idea of the brace is that you can actually put your arm through here and brace it, but I've never seen anybody do this ever.
I've tried it. It's awkward.
It's awkward, yes.
Yeah.
Which is the idea of the brace, and it is kind of a reach around the law. I mean,
It's funny because in the video I did, I was showing some of the guns that they were considering short barrel rifles. One of them was a PSA in that color.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, yep, that is now considered a short barrel rifle because it has a surface area on the end that can be shouldered.
Yep. Which is ironic because so the ruling originally was that you could have the brace, but if it touched your shoulder, it was a felony. So if you were caught actually shouldering a brace, it was illegal. And then they came out and after a bunch of controversy and said, you know what, do what you want with it. You can put the brace on your shoulder. And then these things went nuts. People were buying them like crazy. Everybody makes one. Strike Industries, you can buy BCMs. You can buy a lot of configurations of AKs and Scorpions and everything now with these. And the thing is, like, this is pretty easy to change back to a rifle. If I put a 16-inch barrel on this, which I can find an upper at a gun show for $250 and make this thing completely legal, leaving the brace on it, But what do you do if you got a Scorpion or some one of these rarer guns that you can't just go throw an upper on? It's a proprietary gun,
Yep. Yeah, so that, and this hopefully will be shot down in the courts.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I'm actually going to switch over to my screen. So this is the ruling, and I did a whole video on this you could check out, but this is how and we've been waiting for this to come out for some time now. We know that they were going to kind of revisit how they define these, but not necessarily to this extent. And so this ruling came out on January 13th, basically making these short barrel rifle is going to make them fall under the National Firearms Act. And they've said this on here, This rule does not affect the actual braces themselves, kind of like with the bump stock.
Yeah.
It didn't affect the rifles. If you had that on a bump stock on that rifle, you had to take that off and destroy it. This isn't really saying we're regulating the braces, but it affects what type of
And
firearm you put it on.
basically, they're saying it's the equivalent of a stock is what the ruling is. It has the exact same rules as a rifle stock, even though it's a brace.
Yeah.
Because if you do decide to make it an SBR and go the legal process and get your free tax stamp, you could take your brace off and put a rifle stock on it as an SBR that's legally registered, and that is now an SBR. It's not a pistol.
Yes. And so here's the actual ruling. It's 200 and some pages that I said, and it addresses basically these stabilizing braces, but there's other things involved. Like that's not necessarily the macaroni that you're talking about, Chris, but pretty similar.
Yeah.
But it was intended, this was made for disabled veterans so they could actually
Use and shoot. But
and the ATF approved this. I think these came out and got approved in 2012 and have grown in popularity since then. So this is really how it's supposed to be right here on screen that Jacob was saying. It just attaches to your
forearm.
contours to your forearm. I wanted to show this because they had the exact same gun that Jacob brought with him. Let me go through all these wonderful pages.
Yeah. I don't know how they can do this. Like, let's say you are disabled and you can't shoulder a rifle. You're really putting a damper on those people too. It's like discrimination, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I'm sure that it's probably gonna get brought up to court and they're gonna get
I think there are. So I know a friend who had a bump stock when they first came out, and it was very sketchy in legality. And he actually went to a doctor and got a note, and he had like basically like some sort of disability card, stating that the bump stock helped in some way with whatever disability. I don't know exactly what they said he had or what he has, but it was legal, and he had to carry this card around with the bump stock to prove that it was for a disability, and that was like early on. And then they just said, we don't care, you can have bump stocks, and then they said you can't have bump stocks, and then just recently they said no, the way that they made them illegal wasn't right, and now they're going to bring back legality for bump stocks right as they take away pistol braces, which is super ironic because that does manipulate a rifle's rate of speed, and now those are going to be legal, but pistol braces, which don't manipulate the speed of the rifle.
Today a bill was introduced. It's 3 pages long to overturn how they're setting this up. So
that's
hopefully,
a very slow process.
It is, but hopefully, because this is going to affect more people than say the bump stocks did, that this is going to get pushed further.
I've heard an estimate of over 120 million pistol braces in existence.
Yeah, because it's not like unlike with the bump stocks, it was just that accessory, take it off, throw it away, whatever. This is a complete registration process that you have to go through. That takes time. So it's not only just, fill out an e-form and pay your $200 tax stamp. The application in the e-form requires you to take fingerprints. You have to decide if you want to do it through an NFA trust or not. And like all this stuff that is pretty involved, plus the wait period. As of right now, if you're buying a suppressor or just normally having an SBR rifle built and you want to register it normally, your wait time is anywhere from 6 to 10 months. It took me 10 months to get my suppressors approved.
It took you 10 months under normal amount of people trying to register.
Yeah.
So imagine
add 10,000 or 10 million to that. You think, and they give you a 120-day grace period. So they're going to get, if everybody complies, which don't comply, but if everybody were to comply and everybody that say had this pistol that's now an SBR and we all register it like they want us to, they're going to get, within these 120 days, say 10 million forms. Do you know how much manpower that takes? It's not like...
it takes 10 months to get 10,000 forms right now.
Yeah. It's not like, with the background check on a normal gun when you're buying it, a lot of that's done by a computer unless something pops up, then somebody has to actually look at it in the background. These are forms that actually have to be reviewed by an actual person. Like there's a stack on their desk that they have to go through and really do a check on this. So this is...
They're pretty much going to have
So instead of...
It can be years before they get through.
So instead of putting the manpower to actually stop crime and actually, stop gun trafficking, they're going to take all those resources for this bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
And then it's going to get repealed.
gun trafficking. What are you talking about?
yeah, those criminals that are actually doing illegal stuff with firearms?
You mean like the Merchant of Death that we released?
Yeah. So the actual criminals here aren't going to be sought after because everybody's going to be too busy trying to do this stuff.
And do you think that if you're someone who is going to use this gun for a crime, you're going to be like, oh, man, I don't want to become a felon with this gun I plan to murder people with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want a felony. I'm just going to commit murder with it.
Yeah.
And in that case, they already have an illegal SBR. They'd put a stock or whatever they want on it,
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, on their website, there's a link to commercially available firearms that are equipped with these braces that are now going to be SBRs, which were originally labeled as pistols. So these are what I showed. This is kind of just a normal AR-15. You get some of these other brands that are basically the same thing.
Yeah, everybody makes a factory one.
Yeah, Springfield, like everybody makes
Ruger,
them
yeah.
different sizes. There's different types of these braces, as you can see. There's
Tons
AKs.
of AKs.
Like that's gonna be hard to change out.
Yeah, you can't change. I mean, what are you gonna? Let's say that they even made a barrel to put in that. You want 10 inches of barrel sticking out of the front of that thing, like for it to comply.
Like some of these, it's like no. But yeah, I thought it was funny because I don't know where it was, but they had your gun on here.
I find it crazy though because they're talking mostly about the rifles and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're not talking about the accessories like a micro-roni because that's really not a rifle. It's an accessory to your gun.
Yeah,
There's your rifle.
yeah, that's crazy.
Cut and paste.
Yeah. That's an SBR. You
Yep.
have an SBR. 120 days when this goes into effect. I don't think it's gone into effect yet.
So did you see? I watched the Colin Noir video on this.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the optic ruling?
Yes, eye relief. If you have a firearm where you have an optic that gives you basically have the same eye relief that you would on a rifle, that is an SBR.
So then, what does that do for dots on like?
Pistols,
Yeah,
just your normal handgun that now come with the RMR cuts
Yeah.
for a red dot.
I have an RMR Cut 19, and I'm planning on buying a dot for it. But is that going to make my Glock 19 with no stock an SBR?
They have all these gray areas so that way they can interpret however they want
I
to.
bet they interpret like any sort of magnification being the case. You know what I mean? Like a 1.5 times magnification.
So how are you supposed to go to these shooting ranges? You're supposed to have iron sights then the entire fucking time?
Yeah, that's very annoying. Like, do you know how many RMR cut pistols there are? To make those SBRs, that's unreal. And then you have to register a concealed carry gun as a SBR.
Yeah.
And then, okay, let's say you did that. Okay, so you want an RMR cut concealed carry gun, and then you want to comply with the law. So I'm going to make my RMR cut Glock 19 an SBR, okay? We live on the Kansas and Missouri border. So that would mean every time I have to go to work in Missouri, I have to contact the ATF and let them know I'm going to be transferring the gun, and then I wouldn't even be allowed to go anywhere but a qualified range. I can't take it as my concealed carry weapon as I'm about doing what I'm doing. That's absurd. The optic thing in this bill is just unreal.
Have you met our government and the ATF? They're absurd. First of all, again, the ATF does not have the power to make law, which they're doing right here. Even though they label it as a rule,
No.
you're basically making this a law.
It's a rule, but I broke the rules, not the law then. So
Yeah.
then you can't
Can't
get
charge
me in
me.
trouble. Yeah.
So amongst this bill and this website, I'll post a link to the website with all this information on it so you could see how ridiculous it is. They have FAQs and everything, and they have a graphic here on what to do if you have one of these. And if you have, like Jacob right now, is considered an unlicensed possessor once this goes into effect. So you are an unlicensed possessor who's affected by this rule. So you have these options here to do it. So replace the short barrel with a barrel that is longer than 16 inches. So you would take that upper, replace it with a 16-inch or longer upper.
Not doing that.
Defeats the whole purpose of having that gun set up. So that's one option. Second option is remove the brace so that it cannot be reattached.
Which would include the buffer tube.
Mm-hmm. So then you'd have to put the pistol buffer tube on, the smooth one.
Yeah.
Which most of them come with, right?
No,
Or
it's got the cuts like a.
Do they? The adjustable?
You could basically throw any
Yes.
mil-spec stock on it right now.
So you would have to put the specific pistol buffer on there with a smooth round surface, so you can't mount
Which
anything
isn't
to it.
an great increase in cost, but also like we're talking about this, like me and you have hand built ARs.
Mm-hmm.
So what if I'm not comfortable doing that? I have plenty of friends that are into guns and they're not comfortable working on their own guns. Whether it be that it's not even necessarily ability, but they don't want to scratch something they have. You know what I mean? What, like this is a $500 build, but what if you have a $2,500 build? I don't want to scratch on my buffer tube because I tried to do it myself. You know,
Opportunity to capitalize on this, start a business. The other option, and as I stated in my last video, this is do not recommend this at all, is forfeit your firearm to the local ATF office. You could potentially, like Cullen Neor said, be incriminalizing yourself bringing that gun up there.
Yeah.
So if you have something that you didn't realize, like maybe you had messed with the brace in some form and you're not supposed to, or something about that gun else was illegal, I mean, you're incriminating yourself right there. Even though you're turning it in. Yes. So that's a very scary gray area. Don't turn it in. And I also don't recommend this next option. Destroy the firearm.
Oh, that's what I was going to do.
So because that gun has a pistol brace on it that is now, not legal to having that set up, destroy the entire gun, Jacob. Let's take a hacksaw.
Nothing's on it's usable.
Let's go to my garage.
It cannot be reconfigured.
Yeah, let's go to my garage and I got a, hacksaw. I got a jigsaw. I got a freaking one of those reciprocating saws. Well, I'll take one and just destroy this thing because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yep.
Perfectly good.
And then when you do that, take it to the ATF then.
Yeah. When you could just simply take the brace off. But destroy your firearm. That's ultimately what they want you to do, that and turn it in.
No, they ultimately just don't want you to have a firearm.
Yeah. And so your last and final option, which is what most people will do aside from the first one, is do the registration. You register an e-form during the 120-day, I guess you could say grandfather period. And if you do it within this 120 days, you're not required to pay a $200 tax stamp. Because if you've ever gotten a firearm through the NFA Act, whether it's a suppressor or an actual short-barreled rifle, even if you have a machine gun, you can legally own a machine gun. So if you have the money to afford one, you have to pay a $200 tax stamp. Like all my suppressors, $200 tax stamp. They're waiving that fee for the first 120 days.
Which I think is great. If you were already planning on doing an SBR, completely take advantage of this.
Mm-hmm.
But understand what comes with an SBR. And with an SBR, you cannot take it across state lines without permission. And reselling that rifle is going to be incredibly difficult because it's an NFA item. You also have to decide whether you're going to spend the money on a gun trust or not, which I would highly recommend. If you're going to do it, do the gun trust. Otherwise, when you die, this gun dies with you, basically.
Be buried with it.
And transferring it or selling an NFA item is way more difficult and costly than doing it with a normal weapon. So like, let's say like my build, it's a $500 gun. I'm not committed to this gun for life. Mm-hmm. If I make it an NFA item, I am almost. Yeah. I mean, I'm almost committed to it for life. And then I can't take it across state lines which is way less appealing. I never thought I wanted this gun to be a legal SBR. I wanted it to be a pistol that I could do anything I could do with a rifle, that legality. And if I wanted to get out of it, I could get out of it. I could sell it for way more than I have in it at this point,
Yeah. So there's a lot more to, just registering this as an SBR. There's a lot more legalities that you have to
So they're going to waive
recognize.
the fee for you to make it an SBR. What if you want to put a suppressor on it too? You still got to pay
You're paying the tax stamp for the suppressor because you have to do paperwork on that separate. So basically, you have a 2 tax stamp firearm. Tax stamp for the SBR, tax stamp for the suppressor.
Is the suppressor locked into the serial number on the gun, or is
No.
it, okay.
There's a serial number on the suppressor
So it's
itself.
its own NFA item.
Yeah, so you have 2 stamp fire. And people do that all the time. So if you want a really good close quarter combat gun, have a suppressor on a short barrel rifle with a solid stock, you're good.
Yeah.
But there's, like Jacob said, you can't just take it across state lines. There's a lot of stuff. If you use that in a home defense situation, that could be bad, especially depending on your state, because it may look to a certain judge that, hey, you were expecting to kill somebody with this. Like, there's a whole bunch of legality on there, especially depending on your state. If you're red, blue, purple.
Says the guy whose bedside gun has a suppressor on it.
I don't have the suppressor on my bedside gun. I have the barrel on there to mount it on there.
Oh, you don't keep the suppressor on it?
No, just for that reason. But I keep it on my...
I don't think that the element of surprise I guess the sounds, like the hearing protection, is what would benefit you indoors.
Yeah. But on my, like Chris and I said in the last episode about our home defense?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I have security cameras, so if I know there's a lot of threats coming, that's when I'm going to go with my 300 blackout with the suppressor on there. Yeah. But ultimately, what we're getting to is a very big registration.
Pretty much.
Because right now, that gun you have, you filled out a form 4473, have it listed as a pistol, but it's not.
I don't, because I just bought the lower side.
Oh, okay. So it was listed as another
a gun part, yeah.
But if you were to buy that as is, it'd be a pistol, or would have been. And that's it. Technically, the government isn't supposed to know that you have that. There's no registry.
Well, and I also view that as a benefit of, like, it's not as easy to find the videos, but you can watch a video. You can find a video out there. There's places, like, to figure out how to watch, or articles on private websites. You know what I mean? You can still find out how to assemble an AR pretty easily online. I would highly recommend doing so. One, to save money, because you actually pay a higher tax rate when you buy a complete rifle versus buying the same parts and the lower separately. You do get some cost saving there.
13% more.
You know the gun in and out yourself, and it isn't registered as a pistol or whatever. It's registered as an other because you bought just an AR lower, and then they never know what you did with it. And then when they decide your gun's illegal, it's up to you what you do with it, not
the government.
Yeah, it's not known. It's not already in some database as, oh, it's an AR pistol, and those are illegal now.
Yeah. So there's a lot of
gray areas.
Yes.
The option not talked about here that a lot of people are talking about too is you can remove your upper, store it separately from your firearm collection. So keep your lower in your safe with your firearm collection with no short barrel on it, and keep your short barrels in a very, very separate space. But just wait. They're just firearms parts. There's nothing legal against having an 11.5-inch AR barrel not attached to a lower, as long as it's not stored in the same space as a lower it could be equipped on. So just hold on to it, and eventually it's going to be like the bump stocks. Just if you want to comply and you don't want to do all of this stuff, remove your barrels, keep them separate, and wait. You don't even have to go buy a 16-inch barrel for that gun. You can say, hey, I plan to, but I can't afford it right now. That's a rifle that's being built. You know what I mean? And those are gun parts that are just being stored.
True.
Maybe I'm going to buy a lower and put a pistol tube buffer on that. They're two incomplete separate rifles.
The best way for us to beat this, though, is if all, say, 10 million people, not a single person complies.
Yeah.
That or just
That
Are
also
they
has
going
me
to
leaning towards not doing
that
anything.
or flood the shit out of them with so much stupid shit since they want pictures with it. and just fucking fill their database with just junk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can keep shit locked up in your garage, right? In your
Yeah.
Corvette. So what's the fucking difference?
Start taping stuff
Yeah.
to BB guns.
Yeah.
So with the bill already being introduced, and we have a good outlook on this as being ruled unconstitutional. How long that's going to take, we don't know. Hopefully less than 120 days, but we'll see.
Or if you want to get an SBR for free, there you go. There's
Yeah,
your way.
honestly, if you
If
want
you were
to
looking at doing that anyways, now is the time.
take advantage of this, but if you weren't and you have a pistol and have it set up as a pistol, do not comply.
Realistically, if you don't have a brace, like an SBA 3 right now is 160, 150 bucks. So you're only saving $50 because you still have to buy the SBA 3, put it on a right. Like now, if you were making, say, 4 SBRs, you could use the exact same SBA 3 brace for all of your pictures. And then you can put rival stocks on them once they're an official SBR, which is stupid to me that, like, I get it. They're only trying to stop that loophole of the SBR loophole.
But they're really making a bigger loophole for people, really.
But
it's not illegal to change it out once you go through that process. So,
But let's be honest, big elephant in the room here. This is a workaround to get an SBR without going through the paperwork. Like that's legitimately like you could not say that, but if I catch a lot of slack for saying this, but really it is what it is.
Yeah.
And they finally figured it out. But the fact that they made it legal, and so then everybody's like, okay, I can have a pistol with a brace on it. Yeah, it's a workaround, but the ATF said it was illegal.
yeah.
They should not be able to, again, without Congress voting and the president signing, they cannot
Make laws.
change it like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
And it's messed up when they clarified from the beginning, like, what do you mean? And they were like, well, it's okay. Like, you can do that. You can do a pistol brace, and it's not an SBR. That's fine. And then you wait 7 years, 10 years, or whatever. What's 11 years now from 2012? So, and then you're like, yeah, just kidding.
and if you do some research on the whole background of the NFA Act, and there's been some times when the government's fucked up on those, especially when the M1 carbines came out and they were selling those as surplus to individuals. At that time, because it had a 16 and a quarter inch barrel, they were actually selling, based on the way it was written back then, they were actually selling those technically as SBRs to the American people.
Well, they didn't break laws, Keith. They broke rules.
Yes. But if the government does it, it's not a big deal, which
Correct.
is an oopsie. But that's why there was some changing in the length of the barrel after that, because they made a big oopsie when they were selling the M1 carbines as surplus to the American people. And then there's been other issues. So the whole NFA thing is just, I get, like we said, we were talking about this at dinner, I get machine guns.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Full auto, assault rifles. Yeah, we get.
Although there are probably more kids in Chicago that have full auto Glocks than there are actual full auto Glocks.
Yeah. Probably.
You know, with those stupid Glock switches that
like
were a problem.
$30 Glock switches.
Yeah. So,
Well, let's go
Mr.
after a pistol brace that.
Yeah. So Mr. Smith in Chicago, who bought that to have at home, take it to the range, legally, responsible firearm owner, now has to go through all this stuff because he's going to be a criminal in 120 days, whereas his kid down the street has a fully auto Glock that he bought from online or wherever he bought it from, isn't going to comply with any of this. And, the ATF's resources and all that is now being focused on Mr. Smith and not this kid that has a Glock switch on Twitter and all this stuff, showing it off, and who's probably going to kill somebody with it. Instead of stopping him, we're now stopping Mr. Smith, the law-abiding, responsible gun owner.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And the whole debt ceiling thing that's going on now, it's like, yeah, cool. Let's give you more money to spend on now. You're going to have to hire more ATF people to do this because, maybe that'll stop them from hiring all those IRS people.
They already stopped that. I
Yeah,
thought.
they
Did they?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
once we took a
New
house.
Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
They stopped it immediately,
Yep.
which is awesome.
Good.
I was worried about that as a small
All
business
right,
owner. 'cause
time to
they're
start
basically saying I was
funneling
gonna
more
get
money.
audited.
Just kidding. No fun of money. But actually, like you've said, if you were ever thinking about doing an SBR, which I've thought about, I have a lower in the business safe that I've just been hanging on to. Liberty Gunworks lower. It's got the full auto cut for certain things, just in case. But I could register that as an SBR for free.
Yeah.
If I was planning on that, register that as an SBR anyway, and then
I would also highly recommend, like, if you're considering, if you have a pistol and you're gonna put a 16-inch barrel on it as your option, just put a stock on it.
Yeah.
Sell your short barrel and your brace together and put a stock on it, because that was the whole point of these braces. They suck as stocks. They do.
oh yeah, they're garbage.
Yeah, I mean, no one that owned even a mil spec stock would be like, I prefer this. Like,
Yeah.
so then now it's making these pistol braces like pretty insignificant.
Yep.
Just being honest.
But again, like they said, it doesn't affect the pistol. So the pistol braces aren't the problem. They're not going to regulate the pistol braces, stabilizing braces, whatever you want to call them. It's the way you have it set up on your firearm. This only affects you if you have one on a barrel length that's under 16 inches.
It became a mil spec
Yeah.
stock.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Same ruling as any other AR. It can't be under 16 inches. And
But again, this is likely going to get tossed out.
but here's the thing.
That
If you take advantage of the free SBR, then you're in a registry. And then even though it gets ruled out in 2-3 years, that doesn't change the ruling on the fact that you took advantage of the free SBR. Your gun will still be registered as an NFA item, will still be on a registry. If ARs become illegal in your state, the ATF has a clear-cut record that you own this rifle and it became illegal in your state. And then, again, it's an NFA item, so it's illegal for you to possess. You have almost no time to sell it to someone in another state, and they have to do an NFA transfer, not just,
Yeah.
whatever the law requires from state to state for, if it requires a transfer or not, depending on the legalities there.
Luckily, we live in a state that probably won't happen. But if you're somewhere else that is in an area where
Iffy gun laws.
iffy, take it for what you will.
But anything can happen, too. I mean, I didn't see what was going to happen in Illinois or was it
Yeah.
Washington? Both of those were baffling to me. Like how, sure, I saw some gun laws coming for them, but I didn't see the level that they passed as quickly as they passed it coming.
And that's, again, why we titled this video or podcast What We Did. Because all 9 states that now have banned ARs or assault weapons at the state level, all Democratic run, especially Illinois. And that fat fuck of a governor that did that in Illinois, he just wants to run for president. So he's like, oh, look what I did.
Yeah.
We can get this done at a state level. We can get it done at a federal level. But
Yeah, they're an idiot.
it's just going to show you that all this is unconstitutional. So the Democrats, along with the ATF, don't care about the Second Amendment. They don't think you should have it because they're just trying to. All this affects us law-abiding citizens. It does not have any effect on criminals. It's not going to stop any criminal activity, any crimes. It's not. You're taking resources away from that.
I saw one debate they were having about, I don't think it was braces. I think it was the Gun Act, the HR, I forget the exact.
1608 or
The 1608, yeah. Basically all semi-autos. They were debating that, and one Republican asked a Democrat leading the bill, does it ban common use firearms? And he goes, that's the exact point of this bill, is to ban these commonly used firearms. And he goes, well, the Supreme Court already ruled that you can't take away a commonly used firearm, so you're already breaking what the Supreme Court ruling, like, from the get-go. And then you literally said that was the point. Like,
yeah. Oh, the times that we live in right now are not very fun.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately there's a lot more people that are becoming anti-gun, kind of following media and these Democrats because
Or
they
people
don't
in
know.
the middle that just fall with like, fuck it, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it like back in college, like I wasn't into guns, high school, college. Like I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like I don't care. Like I don't need a gun. But then once you get into it, you're like, oh shit, this is fun, nice to have. So yeah, you get a lot of those people that don't care, and so they're gonna vote the way the media tells you to.
Yeah. That or they're going to sit there and twist the words to make you confused when you do go and vote for this stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
They did that on the abortion stuff. I
Oh,
had to
yeah.
read that thing like 3 times
like
when
what?
we voted on that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, man, this is really worded like
Terrible.
to make you feel like you're voting for the but I'm like, but that doesn't really help you, because if you confuse everyone and you
Yeah.
make me think I'm voting for this when I'm not, that means someone that wants to vote for it's going to be confused
And vote
in the
other way.
same way and vote the other way. So
Yeah.
like, what does that benefit you? It was just dumb.
Yeah.
But
Idiots.
they think that like, well, the people that are going to vote for this, they're going to read this better than the people
No.
that it's like, no,
You're
it's
going to
equal
confuse the
across
shit out of
board.
them.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, fuck.
Yeah. No, I've never seen like that voting day. I've never seen so many people asking questions to the people as they're reading it. They're just like, can you clarify this? Like, what does this mean?
What does this mean? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Are they for it or not? I don't get it.
Yeah. And then one guy, when I was there, he's like, why? Like, he's like, how come I can't vote for the president? And it's like, wrong election, buddy. We're not to that point yet.
It's midterms.
Come
I
back
wish.
later. Like, you can just skip it if you want, but like,
You're a
that's
little,
not what
you're
we're
about
doing
2
today.
years too early.
Yeah. So let us know what you guys think about this down in the comments. What you plan on doing?
Getting a free SBR. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes, free SBR. But and when you register the SBR, you're really just registering the lower receiver,
Yeah.
whatever serial number that is, that sticks as the SBR. So you could swap out the uppers as much as you want. You can even put a 16-inch or longer upper on there, but that lower will always be registered under NFA Act.
Yeah. So if you
So-
want to change it out to a 300 blackout SBR later, you can.
If all of a sudden they start banning ARs and you know you have that registered, take the upper off.
Yeah.
And worst case, they just take that lower.
Yeah. Here you go. Here's my little piece, and then you take a hammer right to it right when you give it to them.
And this is when it would be maybe a good thing for you, Jacob, is to use that gun as it, because then if they do take it,
So cheap.
it's a $350 gun.
Yeah.
Or not
versus
even
It's
that,
a
just
$25
lower.
lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is tempting, but yeah, at the same time, I thought like, well, I don't know if I want to keep this gun
So-
forever versus a gun I do want to keep forever, but then do they come for that gun? Because if
So-
that, like my BCM, that would suck, because that's a $350 lower.
And it's very hard to find a stripped BCM lower. Usually they come complete.
Yeah, I've never come across one actually for sale, just sold out versions of it everywhere.
I don't know, something to think about.
So
Maybe buy something.
It's also
buy
crazy
some
because
80% lowers then.
I just realized too, I have more money in my BCM lower than like I'd had in almost this entire gun when I built it.
Yep.
We can buy 80% lowers and just make those
Yeah.
cheap, easy.
80% lowers. Those ghost guns.
It won't be a ghost gun if it's an SBR.
I can't believe they're not coming after those over this.
Yeah.
Like, that's sketchier than this. You know, they went after the Glock frames, but not AR
Yeah.
80%. They don't even know what they're talking about, though. Like, they don't. That's the thing, is the people against it have no clue what they're even talking about.
Don't even know what an assault rifle is.
It would serve them to go to the gun range for just one day.
No, it wouldn't. They'd be terrified and be little snowflakes and go cry in a corner about how bad it
They
hurt
would
their
need
shoulder.
counseling after, but
I got PTSD for pulling this thing and it hurt my shoulder.
this 22 caliber bullet.
Yeah. Yeah, just get 80% lower. Give it that, and then I don't know what happened to it. It's 80% lower.
Who's our attorney general?
I know a guy that has a mold to make polymer 80%, like from cast that he makes himself.
I know. I looked at a polymer lower one time. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that makes me nervous.
Yeah.
But you got to figure out Glock's mostly
Yeah.
polymer.
That's what I was starting to think about. I was like, most handguns are all polymer anymore. So
Yeah. As long as the parts that go bang are metal.
Yeah.
That's the important part. But the lower, I don't know, like that, it kind of sketches me out on AR because it has so many critical points that hold the rest of it together, and they pivot. You know what I mean? You're
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
A little scary.
I don't think I'd want a polymer AR lower.
Mm-mm.
But if shit hit the fan, I'd rather have a polymer AR lower than
Nothing.
no AR.
Yeah. And it's just getting worse and worse. Like more, like I said, more and more states that are turning blue are now passing. Like Maryland just passed something about not being able to carry a gun in public places. Oh yeah, you can conceal carry a gun, but you can't carry it in public places. Like,
Well, New York's they made their concealed carry super strict, and then you're not allowed to carry in private businesses. So you can carry on the street, but then like if you're going into private businesses, what do you do with your gun?
mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, even if it protects me to the door, what happens when I go in the door and out of the door? Then what? Then what do I do? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are they supposed to go back to like firearms checks and check in your gun at the front door so you can
Like the
comply?
Western
Yeah,
movies.
like
Yeah. They have one in their sock the entire time.
yeah, or gun lockers
Yeah.
out front of places. Like, what? How do you comply with that and live your life and feel safe? You know. I even saw someone. I saw a recent concealed carry holder that protected themselves. It was a black lady that her friend set her up. She went to a bar and she told these other girls to come and rob her because she knew she had a decent amount of money on her. And there's security cam footage from her neighbor's Ring cam of her like coming back to her apartment complex, and these girls run up the stairs before them and they go up a level from where her apartment is, and they wait halfway on the stairwell. And as she enters, they chase her down and try to shoot her, but she felt sketched out seeing them like go up. She's like, I've never seen them at my apartment complex. They like awkwardly wouldn't acknowledge us. They rushed in front of us, went up the stairs, and she's like, I didn't hear a door open. And she goes, when I didn't hear a door open, I pulled my concealed carry out of my purse, chambered around, and had it in my hand as I was walking to the door. And then a girl ran down the stairs with a gun and tried to shoot her, and she turned and shot the girl before she shot her, saving her life. But she walked back from the bar. She legally shouldn't have had the gun at a place where you're drinking, and she shouldn't have had possession of it while drinking. But then what do you do when you walk home and that happens?
Yeah.
If she didn't obey the law, she'd be dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, it's crazy.
like, what do you do about that? What are you drinking over there now?
I
You brought the scotch out.
Oh,
am actually gonna. God, my cameras are jacked up. This is actually something I want to have you try because Chris and I. What's going on? Like, there's a huge delay. You see that? Oh my God. Hopefully, just listen to this audio only and not watch the video because we're having problems. But this is a Glenfiddich. This was on that SLB drinks.
yeah, I've been watching them too.
This is the one that they said is going to be the best entry level scotch for bourbon drinkers because it is aged 14 years in ex bourbon casks.
Oh, wow. So that's a pretty decent scotch then.
Yes. Yeah, and then it gets a vanilla punch from its new oak barrel finish, so it goes from the ex bourbon to a. If you want to try that, Chris and I really liked it.
Better neat than
Wow,
it is on
yeah.
the rocks.
Actually
Yes.
smells bourbony.
Yeah. We got another one I want to try, but it seems like it's gonna be more peaty. But
Wow, that's good.
yeah,
It tastes like a dry bourbon.
Yeah.
but it's a scotch.
Wow, that's really
the
good. I'm
crazy thing
surprised.
is-
I've never really enjoyed scotch until now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I know. Like this is doable, and it's $60, so it's not the cheapest.
but to enjoy it, that's worth it.
And Chris and I tried this on ice. If you want to try it on ice too,
It changes the profile
it does.
completely.
We preferred it neat than on the rocks.
It's making me not want to put it on ice. Make sure I got all this.
Yeah, it was definitely an easy separate. And like scotch, it's not like bourbon.
Yeah.
You're gonna drink a little bit less of that generally.
Yeah.
So $60 for a bottle, and you got to figure it took them 14 years to
age it.
age it.
Yeah.
So I mean, did it say anything on this Redemption?
Oh, wow. It does have a totally different taste.
Yeah.
Changes the palate completely. I don't remember.
I do like it neat better,
Mm-hmm. It's weird.
which is weird because all of the bourbon I like better on ice.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't say how long they aged that one. It says aged less than 2 years on the Redemption. So more than 2 years old.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's good.
Would recommend.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, if you want to get in a scotch, that's why I'm interested to try the other one I have in that globe over there. But I think that's going to be a little bit more peaty than what we're used to. So I don't know. I should have never started watching
SLB.
bourbon whiskey reviews because now that's all that's
Something has
showing up
helped
on
me
my
though.
feed.
Like he has said, like drink what you enjoy a lot. Like he showed, I forget the name of the bourbon, but it was like it's a more expensive bourbon, like over $80 a bottle, and the people were like, well, this isn't a mixing bourbon. This is just, you know, at that level, you should just be drinking this neat or on ice at best. And the guy that made it only drinks it with Sprite. and his point with that was drink what you enjoy. If you only enjoy bourbon with Sprite, then drink bourbon with Sprite. Like, what are you doing forcing yourself? Like, and I'm not saying you can't develop a palate, and I have drinking different stuff, but at the same time, if you enjoy Jack and Coke, then just have a fucking Jack and Coke, man. Like, don't force yourself to drink Scott, you know what I mean? But also, you pay for what you get. I've learned that too. A cheap Scotch, horrible.
Yes.
Horrible.
You can't say that about whiskey or bourbon, though.
True. No, I've been surprised about some of the lower end bourbons that, just like we were talking about that Evan Williams, that is an incredible whiskey for under $30.
Yeah.
It's like now we're to the point to where it's like I like to branch out and try different things. So it's like shit. It's
Trying to find things too.
yeah. So
Yeah, find things that aren't in the $160 range or more. Like
it's like, yeah, I used to hate whiskey, and then I got to where I was able to drink Jim Beam and Sprite, and then slowly branched out. So it's been a slow process, but since we've been doing this and getting a taste for the whiskey, and then after watching that channel and, you know, trying different stuff, it's like, man, I like all of it. It's the problem.
But did you watch his video on most regrettable buys?
Uh-huh.
And he had that
What
one.
sucks is I have a bottle of the fucking Jefferson Ocean.
Oh yeah, you do. I recognize that when he did that. I forgot about
Remember
that.
he said, I fucked up and did it twice?
Yeah.
I only did it once.
As soon as he said that, I hope Keith does not watch this.
Yeah. But he did say, like, so he bought it twice, but I found it very interesting. He said that the two bottles tasted entirely different. Like he gave a different review on the different batches of that.
Each one has a different voyage, so there's a different voyage.
It's on a different ship, so it shook differently, and that's crazy how much that he could tell a difference in the. You know what I mean? I would think like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like they're gonna taste almost the same. Like it's
he
the
also
same.
had like $1,000 bottle that he.
That's the
regretted.
one.
I was like, ugh.
The one with the really fancy box.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but
He was like, yeah, this is $1,000, and I will never again buy it. It's nasty.
he said that he literally was only going to serve it to friends to get it drank faster because he didn't want to drink it.
Yeah.
Which like I can't imagine. Like you're
blow that
talking
much
about
money.
like a neat glass of that whiskey is $100.
Yeah. And
And then being like, yeah, here, let's get rid of $500 worth of whiskey right now. Like,
How much did this Redemption go for, Chris?
I think it was like 26.
Oh, really?
I think.
That's not
Yeah,
bad.
It wasn't bad.
I was impressed with it.
26 or
I would buy
36.
that again.
Yeah.
Like I would add that to my collection for sure.
How big's your collection? Is it?
I drink a lot of it, so I think I probably keep like 4 or 5 bottles on hand at a time.
Yeah, I know that's my problem. Is like that early times I liked it, and so that was my whiskey I was drinking that week.
Correct.
It
Yeah,
sucked.
that's my problem. I haven't got enough into it to hold it back yet. I also don't have a spot to allocate it, or I don't know. Like, I need a bigger man cave. I have too much shit I collect, and
My problem is I don't like drinking alone, so I might have a glass randomly,
yeah,
but I got a shit ton of bottles.
Oh, I drink alone all the time, especially if I'm up here editing. Like editing a video takes a while, so it's nice to sip a whiskey.
Yeah.
yeah. That's my problem when I'm doing something. I like to have a glass, and then I'll go through a bottle that I was trying to save or something. Because if I'm out working on cars or something, I'm like, well, I'm gonna crack into the whiskey, and one glass turns into 3 by the time I'm done.
I know it's funny since I've been collecting whiskey. I like having the bottles in the background and just having the bottles, right? And then it's like as I drink one or after I drink it, it's like, well, shit. Now I got to get a bottle to replace that bottle. Like I got to have that on hand and not and have one that's not open.
Just start making iced tea and putting it back in.
I know. That's why I'm like,
Until he goes take a swig.
I like that early times, but I drank it all. But I want another one to replace it and have it up there on the shelf because,
Yeah.
it was good. That's my problem is once we have a whiskey of the week, I tend, unless it's really expensive like that Whistle Pig.
Well, as long as we don't get through a quarter of the bottle, it's pretty savable, right?
Yeah, and even what they said in El Subway drinks, I mean they'll have a bottle up there for years, and I mean it just.
I think it all depends on how they store it,
And you could realistically put this, like if you have like maybe a quarter of the bottle, get a smaller bottle and put it in, so that way there's less air.
Yeah.
That was one idea that they came up with, and I'm like, hey, that's not bad.
But back to what you said, a part of it is that it's neat to have that bottle,
Right? Yeah.
I mean, and cool bottles is sometimes a part of it. I'm like, man, I don't even think this is gonna be as good, but like I'm gonna try it because it's a neat bottle.
Kind of like I have an empty bottle of Blanton sitting on that
Yeah.
over there. It's a cool bottle. I don't want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Even though I have another bottle of Blanton's up there full. It's
mine's
just a
like
neat
half
bottle.
full, and I'm like, trying to find another one before I finish it.
The next whiskey I want to buy is Blade and Bow. It's $40-ish range, but it comes in a cool bottle as well and has a kind of cool background on it, and it's supposed to be good.
Yeah, that's when I first started buying like random whiskeys. It was just, oh, that's a cool bottle. I want that bottle.
And it sucks when we first started the podcast, we were sticking to bottles that were cheap, like $20, Jim Beam, Devil's Cut, and stuff that was cheap. And then I got to like, all right, I'll spend $30 on a bottle or whatever. Now I'm like, man, I'm really liking the bottles that are 50 plus.
Which I think that also does make it easier to hold on to that bottle. It makes it easier on a bottle like that to have 1 or 2 glasses and then sit it on the shelf and not touch it for a while.
Yeah. Like there's several bottles that we have a little bit of taken out of, but then I'm like, all right, that'll stay. But
yeah,
early times, it was under $25.
Yeah.
I just cracked into a bottle of Woodford, and it's like, now that I'm like hitting that halfway mark, it's like, man, I'm probably gonna finish this damn bottle.
You know what's funny? That is
2
a
weeks.
bottle that I have never possessed.
Really?
Like we've all agreed that we like it, and that's
It's
our
one of
favorite.
the best ones. Like,
Yeah.
price wise, I think it's.
I don't.
It
have,
tastes like a $60 bottle of whiskey for $35.
I don't and never have had a bottle in my collection.
Really?
I think the one time I bought it
I know what to get.
because you bought the double barrel.
Yep.
I think
Double oak.
Double oak. One of us. Did you?
I brought some.
Yeah, and then so I've never actually had my own bottle of Woodford Reserve.
Didn't we have it on the taste test?
Yeah.
I think he brought,
Yeah, I brought
it.
Yep.
Oh, so you brought that and the Evan Williams
Yep.
single,
Small batch.
or small batch.
And then for Hunter and I, birthdays were pretty close together. His was first, so I got him a bottle of Woodford. 'Cause we like it. But then he also got me a bottle of Woodford. But he's like, shit, I don't want to give you the same bottle. So he went out and bought something else for me and kept the Woodford. I'm like, dude, I would have been fine. Just give me the Woodford. Like,
Yeah, Woodford.
so I still have no Woodford.
gotta have that. That's part of the like.
I know.
collection you
But
gotta
when
have.
I'm there, I'm like, I know what this tastes like. So I want to try something else.
It's also one that's very like it's in a price point too that like it's a very drinkable whiskey.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? If you have something like Blanton's and Woodford, it's easier to crack into the Woodford and not feel guilty about it because it's a bottle you can go find and replace very easily. Mm-hmm. But it's a very good tasting whiskey. Like it in its price range, I don't think there's much that could touch Woodford.
No.
It tastes like a $60+ bottle of whiskey
all day long.
Yeah.
It's so smooth and great flavor.
When I'm above that, like when I'm at above that $40-$45 mark, that's what's on my mind is like, is this gonna be worse than stuff I could buy that's cheaper than this?
Yeah.
I've been seeing a couple more videos on the Jack Daniel's single malt.
I know. I'm been looking for it.
When are we gonna find it?
At some point, one whiskey I'll bring. I know you guys have had it, but I haven't yet. And at some point, I'm gonna buy the Jameson Black.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh my gosh.
Because I have not enjoyed Irish whiskey much,
That's like the only one I'll drink.
but I've heard, and I've heard that from some other friends too that are into whiskey. And
It's a little, depending on where you find it, you're 35
$40
average.
Yeah.
I wouldn't pay 40 for it. If you go to like one of the bigger liquor stores, you're going to find it for 32 to 35.
is Gomer's the one off of 87th Street there?
Yep.
Over by
That's-
the whole new Lenexa.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where I
I'm
find.
close enough to that. I should just be going over there more.
So what you should be doing is Wednesdays at 12 o'clock, going there. They have an upstairs room where they have their antique collection, but they hide their allocated bottles in there. And that's where I've been able to find. I've probably bought 6 bottles of Buffalo Trace up there for like $33. So retail. And they have other stuff up there too. But if you're wanting Buffalo Trace,
Well, see, the liquor store by my house, I've gone there enough. Like, there are spots in the summer when we go and have friends out on the boat that we'll go drop, a couple $100 on liquor and everything, and buy ice. And if people are buying cigarettes, they have a smoke shop. So I've been there enough with these big ticket purchases that I talked to her recently, and she's like, "Oh, if there's something you want," she's like, "I'll hold anything for you." She took my number down, and she's holding some Buffalo Trace for me in the next week. And she's like, "If you want Blanton's or whatever, let me know." But her price on Blanton's was like, she told me it's going to be like $85. I'm like, I don't know if that's a great deal.
but at the same time,
But she says they get 1 bottle a month.
I know it's one of those things, and they said that in the SLB Drinks channel. If you've been looking for this bottle for so long and haven't found it,
Yeah, what's $5 or $10?
if you got to pay a little bit over MSRP, but if that's your one chance to get it.
Get it.
So if they can, honestly, if you're
Not
gonna
only
have,
not only get it, but she'll hold the 1
Yeah,
bottle
so
they're
if you're-
getting for me.
honestly,
you know what I mean? I
if-
can wait 3, 4, or 5 days, go up there, and it'll still be there.
to
for me.
have it part of your collection, I would.
Yeah,
I'd
and,
pay the
and
extra.
Blanton's is something that I'd like to have around for like.
Yeah.
It was a special occasion.
And it's
I'm gonna
just a
have a
cool
Blanton,
bottle.
yeah.
And honestly, if you have a whiskey collection, you got to have that bottle of Blanton's.
Yeah.
Like you have to. So I would personally pay that, just like Chris and I overpaid on the Sinatra Jack.
But that was the first time
I know.
saw it. In
I
3
asked her about
years.
that too. She said she's never seen a bottle come in.
That's
But
why we're like,
Gotta buy
fuck.
it.
Yeah. But unless we had a hard time finding Blanton's in Tennessee and Kentucky. So
We had to like go in there like separate when we found out this liquor store had it, and
they only had one case.
yeah,
So
and we had 3 bottles between the group of us.
Yeah.
Like, well, I went in there like told a sad story, like I'm just traveling, meeting up with some old military buddies. We like drinking whiskey, and I want something kind of special for this occasion. And he's like, well, I got something for you, and he comes back out with a bottle of Blanton's. I was like, yes.
Yep. The one thing,
he had to be like, how did like 3 different people come in the last half an hour looking for?
Well, I waited a day
Okay.
or
Yeah.
later.
but yeah, I mean, I want to take another trip to Tennessee and Kentucky. I want to go to the
Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace Distillery because we got to be able to find stuff there.
Let me know
I
on
went-
this next trip. I'd be interested in going with you.
You can go
guys.
on their website, I found out, and like see what they have in their store. Like, how the Jack
Oh,
Daniel's.
really?
Yeah. And they were like, out of stock, but they have Buffalo Trace there, obviously. But they had Bland's on there, Rare Eagle, Van Winkle, and they're all out of stock on that. So I'm like, oh. They're like, it doesn't really update either. So every day is different. And they have allocations for each week.
I'm sure you can find that stuff around that area.
Oh, I'm sure you can find
Especially with
Yeah.
so their Sazerac is suing the distributor that they used to use. There's a whole issue with Blanton's and their distributor and
Buffalo Trace,
Sazerac. Yeah. Sazerac owns Buffalo Trace, owns a bunch of shit. So hopefully we'll be able to see
Yeah,
it.
I
But
guess their distributor is like, oh, you have to buy this, and you can get some allocations of Buffalo Trace and Rare Eagle, and like forcing them to buy like some other vodka or other brands that they
Yeah.
had. And I guess once you did
It's one
that,
way to get sales, I guess.
yeah, then like once you bought the other crap, they'd send you some allocations of Buffalo Trace and Bland.
Which you still have to pay for. It's not like they're giving it to you.
But they wouldn't give it to you before
Yeah.
unless you buy whatever vodka they wanted you to have or Fireball or whatnot.
And that's why you'll see some stores marking up
Yeah.
the allocated bottles way over MSRP because they know they'll sell it for that.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of them, a good liquor store will sell it at MSRP.
Yeah.
But you'll get the ones that I had a buddy that saw a bottle of Weller's, $25 bottle of whiskey for $90 at this one small.
Weller's is 40 something at my local liquor store.
No, it's a
You
$20
should-
bottle.
Yeah.
$25 bottle.
Don't pay $40 for
I haven't
it.
bought
If
it
it's the
there.
green label,
It's the green label.
don't pay $40. It's
Yeah,
25.
it's like 38 or 39.99.
it's
It's like $25.
yeah. I have a bunch of bottles. It's sweet. I don't know. I buy
Yeah.
it just because if I see it, I'm like, I'll buy it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. There's early times like I'd prefer to have that, but it's a bottle to add to your collection. That's another one that I find a lot at Gomer's in
Yeah.
that allocated room upstairs. They'll have Wellers up there, but you got to do it because they're open Wednesday through Saturday, 12 to 5. Wednesday's the day to go, and you got to go around that 12 o'clock because shit, there's a line to get up and then in there. So
Oh, really?
yeah, and they only have so many bottles of this stuff.
Yeah.
So
That
The-
and sometimes they'll do raffles too. So you
Mm-hmm.
get, I didn't know this until I went like on a weekend, and there was a line there, like 3 or 4 guys. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And I called him. He's like, dude, they got this big raffle going on. I was like, what? We left. I went right back in there, and there was already a line like all the way through the aisle. And I was like, fuck. It's like, and then you go up there, put in the raffle ticket. You will buy whatever they have if you're chosen. But I never got chosen.
I was
Yeah.
talking to a guy at the liquor store over in Arbor Creek down the street. And I was looking at his allocated stuff. And I'm like, is this all he got? He's like, yeah. And he was telling me that he's been looking for Buffalo Trace because he's never had it. Older guy. I'm like, have you never had Buffalo Trace? And he's like, man, if you're looking for allocated stuff, Kansas is the last place to look because we're like the last on the list. It's like you're going to have better luck over in Missouri. So if you're ever over in Missouri, look at some of the liquor stores to see if they have stuff that we can't necessarily get over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking online too about, I found like you can ship bottles, and I found this website you can ship Frank Sinatra for like $165, but it won't do it to Kansas.
Great.
If I lived in Missouri, I can get it shipped to my door.
Yep.
I was like, what the? And they had Blanton's on there, they had everything, and I was like, oh my gosh,
That sucks.
yeah,
I will tell you the one thing I hate about Redemption is their corks because they're always falling in your
Yeah.
booze. When we had the regular one, my wife was opening it up and stuff, and the cork was falling apart in your drink. You notice cork bits in it. I got a cork bit in this one. It's like, and that's the only bottle of whiskey that I've had a problem with is Redemption with the cork disintegrating
flavor.
and falling apart. Yeah,
I don't know.
it's still. I mean, it's still like not gonna hurt you, but it's still like something's floating in my whiskey.
Let me get just a
Quit
little bit
backwashing.
more of that.
Jeez.
Will you slide that over here?
Yeah,
Or
I'm
do you want to
I'm
try?
impressed with it,
Do you want to try what we had on our 1-year anniversary?
Sure.
Whistle Pig 10 year. It's good. It's a rye.
Let's do it. I'm not going to turn down trying a whiskey I haven't had.
it's really good.
This is a. I went up to that Gomer's and I was talking to the guy. I'm like, I wanted to get something good, spend a little bit of money on something. And he's like, the Whistle Pig 10 year. There was a 10 year and a 12 year. There was a $55 price difference. I'm like, are we going to be able to tell the difference between the 10 and 12? He's like, no. And this was a
Really?
store pick.
$55 in 2
Yeah.
years.
And this was a store pick. So if you watch the SLB drinks, they'll say the store picks are generally better than
Yeah,
just the regular one. So this was the store pick Whistle Pig 10 year. It's really good.
because I went up to King's and they had Maker's store pick, and I was like, but it was like $70 for a bottle, and I was like, it's not worth it.
That is good. You're turning me into liking rye.
Now it's good. Is it $100 good?
I wouldn't. So that's almost 3 times the price of that. I would not say it's 3 times better than the other bottle.
Right. That's where it's like
I
this
would buy,
bottle.
I would buy that as a drinker over that. I mean,
But there's some that you
personally,
just have to have the.
no, but yeah,
Yeah,
you gotta try, and it's. I mean, it's a great whiskey. It's
Yeah.
It's one you're gonna have a couple fingers every now and then,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's not one where you're gonna keep pouring
yeah,
Yep.
when you're sitting here doing something.
correct.
So
That's
yeah,
more of a drinker. for
that's
sure.
why that one has lasted so long.
Yeah.
That's good though.
Yeah. And I have that tin cup 10-year. I haven't seen that before, and I
I've never
saw
either.
it, and I'm like, I watched an episode of.
That's
You tried the
hardly-
tin cup after I did. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, I recommended it. And
Yeah, and it was good. But then the SLB Drinks mentioned tin cup 10-year, and I'm like, I've never seen that, and I saw it, and there was only like 3 of them, so I grabbed it, and I've not seen it since.
I got overcharged by $15 for my bottle of tin cup.
Ooh,
Yeah, I realized that when I went back in and I saw the price on it. I'm like, that is not what I paid. Like, and I didn't
Damn.
realize it before because I think the label was covered up or something. I'm like, man,
that sucks.
yeah.
That was because that's what 30.
I paid almost 50, but yeah.
You could have bought that 10-year for that.
He's
Damn.
like, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I just saw it and I was reading different bottles and I'm like, this is what I'm gonna try. Like it was,
And again, it's a cool looking bottle too.
yeah. And it comes with that little that has the story on the
Yeah.
steel shot glass and everything. And
Yep.
I still use that shot glass occasionally, so it's pretty neat.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, it's fun to
Try new things.
try it. I like it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lady at the liquor store, she came up to me the last time I was in because I was standing and staring at the liquor for like just the whiskey for so long, and she started like talking. I'm like, yeah, I know, I know about a lot of these. I just can't decide between like these 4 bottles what I'm gonna spend $60-$70 on right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want to try. I know I want to try one of these 4, but like I keep going back and forth in my mind like why I should try this one over this one. Or,
A good thing about like Gomer's and stuff, and even Lucas Liquor is they'll have sales.
Yeah.
It's like I'll go to those places and I'll take my time so that way I kind of know the price on everything. So then if I see it on sale, I'll be like, that's a good price. I'm going to grab it. Or if I see it somewhere else, say like a different smaller liquor store and they're have it marked up even more, I'm like, that's a bad price for that. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just kind of getting to know the prices on stuff, even if you haven't had it, kind of nice. But yeah, Gomer's website will have weekly specials, and Blade and Bow was on special the same week that Early Times was, and I went up there and the guy's like, yeah, that sold out like day 1, the Blade and Bow.
It's crazy how people just sit there and wait.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a guy in front of me at the liquor store I normally go to, he picked up 3 bottles of bourbon off the shelf in front of me. The last one of one I was considering, so I'm like not thrilled with the guy from the beginning. Like he walked in and he just like grabbed it, and I was like, "Fuck!" like that was like between one of the 2 I was gonna grab, and then he grabbed 2 other bottles he knew what he was after. And he walked up to the counter, and she's like, I have these other 5 that I think you're interested in. And he's like, I'll take those other 3. And he spent $500 on bourbon
Yeah.
like it was nothing.
I mean, if you're waiting on something, don't think about it. If you see it,
But
Just get
he's
it.
just further along in collecting than I think that I'll reach that point. I'm just not there now. I'm not pulled the trigger on this for sure yet. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I'm still developing my palate and you know what I mean? I'm still trying this different stuff to know whether I like a rye or, you know what I mean? I don't know that I like this enough. Do I want to jump up from like trying a $35 bottle to a $90 bottle? You know what I mean? Like, what if I hate it? You know,
Yeah.
that's what I come back to is like, what if I hate this $90 bottle? Like,
That was our biggest fear when we bought that Frank Sinatra.
yeah.
Like, I was like, fuck, I just spent $200. I don't know what it fucking
What if you
tastes
reviewed it like we did Jack Daniels on the blind taste
Oh,
test?
I didn't taste.
And we all still drink Jack Daniels
Yeah.
as our regular whiskey.
but honestly, I don't think we've had a whiskey that we didn't like.
Yeah.
Did you drink any more of that Jesse James that I left?
I've been keeping that for when you came back on, because we haven't actually done that as a whiskey of the
Yeah,
week.
we should do that sometime.
So I got that saved sitting over there for that. Yeah. And then I got a bottle of ammunition that he bought me for my birthday. I bought the other pair for it. I've been trying my hardest not to drink it. We tried it on my birthday just to try it,
Yeah.
but I've been trying so hard not to open it again. And then the one that Hunter got me too, him and I opened it up and tried it, but it's like, hold it off for the podcast. So it makes me like, man,
Still got
it's
that.
hard.
Yeah.
It's like, shit. Like I want to try it
Yep.
some more.
And you still got that nice fancy box up there.
Mm-hmm. That one's going to stay unsealed for quite a while. Yep.
We'll see.
Just do it.
If we go back and find another, then yeah, sure. But until then,
I want to know about this next trip, and I think we should still do a Weston trip and go
Yeah.
do a tasting up in Weston. Say they have like something like 1,800 bottles or something.
dude, I'm down for whenever.
Yeah, I'm pretty free in the winters, so let me
I
know
don't
what
have
you
any
guys
school
can work out.
anymore, so I'm good.
Yeah. But that could also be dangerous because that could be an expensive. Can you like buy?
Oh
You-
yeah,
you-
yeah,
That's gonna be the
Yep.
tough part. It's Weston. That's Missouri, right?
yeah.
So
So, it's a
maybe-
liquor store, and then they have a private tasting room, from what I understand. You can book a tasting, and they assume you're going to buy some whiskey if you're tasting.
So we may have better luck finding something because that's Missouri.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Blanton's. Could we just do a flight of different Blantons, please?
I really want to try Eagle Rare.
So do I. I've been looking for that.
Don't pay more than $60 for it though.
No.
It's a MSRP $50-ish bottle.
I
But I've
think there
n-
might be a bottle or two at the local liquor store near me. I'll have to look.
If there is, buy it and I'll Venmo you. Like anything Buffalo Trace, because that's Buffalo Trace.
Yeah,
Yep.
Buy it and I will Venmo you. Like if it's a Weller that's anything other than the green label, I'm looking for. They have the red and then the
Black and yellow labels.
I haven't seen either of those.
yeah, those are really hard to come by.
Either three of those.
Eagle Rare, Pappies are going to be really hard to come by, and I heard they're not as good. There's Pappy, and then there's the other one,
Van Winkle.
Van Winkle. Yeah, there was a bunch of Blantons
Yeah.
or
there's like-
Buffalo Trace stuff.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank right now, but yeah,
That distillery's got so much. Oh,
and it is probably a lot of hype because it's
yeah.
hard to find, so it's
Yeah. And I think that and
kind of nice having your collection. Like, oh look, I have this bottle. It's hard to find.
yeah, but geez, it shouldn't be that hard to find for how cheap some of this stuff is. Like Weller, $25. That should be on the shelf 24/7.
Yeah.
And Kings did have that for. They had a
Yeah.
huge bottom
did-
shelf of that.
They didn't have it when I went there today because I went
Yeah,
up there.
It's been a hot
before.
minute since they've had that.
And
up
then
there.
I was like, he's like, is there anything you're looking for? I was like, I was just seeing if you had anything Buffalo Trace. He's like, shh, we haven't had anything Buffalo Trace in months.
yeah, it's been a little while. They had that one run,
Yeah.
and that space hasn't been filled. But yeah, if they have Eagles Rare, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rare Eagle,
I think they do. I'll have to look.
I'd be
again.
surprised because that should be gone.
Yeah. Everyone I know is always.
I thought I
looking
saw
for that.
2 bottles up there of that.
And that's
on the way in.
Marigolds, right? Off Neiman.
Yeah, yeah.
He's thinking, I might need to do. an
Well, I got to go
inspection
out to
tomorrow."
Peculiar tomorrow, so maybe I'll check out some Missouri places tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it.
It sucks being a hunter, doesn't it?
It does because it gets expensive.
It does, especially if you find what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's almost like now I got to drop this money.
It's funny because when Marie got me that bar globe, that was like when I was just like in Jim Beam with Sprite.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is cool. I could put some bottles of Jim Beam in here, but it's up in my office. I got to mix it and get ice. Like, what the hell? Now, that thing's overflowing. I had to go to the shelf, and now the shelf is getting full. It's like, man, I don't even want to know how much I've spent in whiskey in the past 6 months to a year.
I
Don't even want to
that,
know.
That trip alone we did was quite
Still to
pricey.
this day, the most expensive whiskey I've ever tasted was some of the worst at that wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I could,
But
not
that
believe
wasn't
how
stored
bad.
right,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
said. Which
I think that's
sucks.
what comes.
It was
down
a
to it.
sealed bottle, but I don't think it was stored improperly, just being not in sunlight. And
Yeah. That's that's the best thing I think about my little bar. It's in the corner, dark, cool, and then everything else I store in my cabinets.
yeah.
So it's always dark, no sunlight.
Yep. Well, cool. Anything else, guys?
Nope.
I apologize if you're watching the video version and there's a delay. See how it's gotten worse?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's over time.
Don't know what that is. I've changed the cords, the dongle thing, the USB ports that I plug into my computer.
Everything.
I've tried everything except for
Buying a new computer.
the computer and the capture card. But the capture card's not cheap either. So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Anyway. Well, thanks for joining us this week, Jacob.
Thanks for
I
having me.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. And Chris for bringing this good rye whiskey. That sucks because I want to add to my collection now.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Well, say it, Chris.
This is a YouTube podcast, so if you're watching, please like, subscribe, and tickle that bell. If you're listening on any other platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, remember to follow. And with that, have a good one.